What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Talk Football. I'm here with Josh. Stan is supposed to be here, but I think he's got a little bit of a delay, so it'll be just the two of us for the time being.
Absolutely.
We're going to go ahead and be covering the Liverpool Salzburg game, the pre-match friendly that just finished, as well as some Cristiano Ronaldo news that has just come out in the past half an hour. Some of the stuff kind of from yesterday revolving around Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe some Lazaro Martinez and Christian Eriksen stuff, because we did have a behind the closed doors pre-match friendly where there were some exciting signs, though we haven't been able to see the fruits of that yet, obviously, as it was played behind closed doors. Also with Chelsea, with Kounde, officially, we got a here we go from Fabrizio. Looks like he's off to Barcelona, as we all kind of knew and suspected. And a little bit more on Kimpembe, where it looks like, unfortunately, he's going to be re-signing for PSG, if you're a Chelsea fan. So just going ahead and getting into it. How are you doing, Josh?
Yeah, good. Coming to you fresh from a 8-degree Celsius, 6:30 in the morning on my front porch. It's ever A+ content. But yeah, good otherwise yourself.
Nah, good. Always good, man. Cool. So, yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and get straight into this. This is kind of interesting coming from Tom McDermott. Ronaldo contract should have been terminated 2 weeks ago. Great player, legend. Never seen anything like his 2007 to 2009 form. But he's not what we need right now. And that is true. It's. I don't know how you feel about it, but what are your general thoughts on how you doing, Twisted? What are your general thoughts, Josh, on just this whole Cristiano Ronaldo saga? Because, I mean, we've chatted, but we haven't been able to kind of be on stream together. So,
yeah, look, it's turning into a farce. Honestly, I mean, I've seen other socials, I've seen other streams. Sort of, it feels like he's pulling the same move he did when he was going to go to City, and we ended up swooping in. It's these links to Atletico Madrid and all this sort of stuff. It almost feels like a chess move, but it's been done. It's predictable now. But honestly, it's going down the same line as Frankie de Jong. It's just, I want it over. I want a resolution of some kind, because as much as I love the guy and he's my goat, it's just no one is bigger than a club, and he hasn't shown for pre-season whatsoever. And apart from, I think, discussions earlier with Eric Ten Hag, build our Sir Alex, Mendes coming into the car and into Carrington, like it's just a lot of hoo-ha over nothing. I feel, I don't know. I'd be happy either way with the result. If he stays and bangs us another 20 goals, then cool, good on you. But I feel like there's been too much progress made in such a short time to be hung up on the Ronaldo situation. To be fair,
yeah, no, I agree. And also, I mean, it might be PTSD or something, but bringing in Sir Alex and David Gill and Richard Arnold, they say it was because of scheduled meetings that they had basically scheduled a while back, but just the pure coincidence that it just so happens to be the day that Cristiano Ronaldo rolls in with his agent into Carrington just makes me feel like it's a little sus.
No, they're just it's kind of like that desperation ploy where you see the school kids fighting in the school ground. It's like, well, my dad will beat up your dad to sort this out. That's what it kind of feels like to me. They're wheeling out the big guns, but I can't. No, I don't think it'll make a difference. Once his mind's set up, as we know, he'll go anywhere he wants. So yeah,
I think it's interesting. Thanks for the comment, Twisted. Have the club let Ten Hag down with this CR7 debacle? No, because I think this is 100% Cristiano's doing. He did say publicly back in May that he would stay. You can then start to kind of aim that at the board if it is a transfer issue. If it's something like, well, you guys didn't get the players in to compete that I would have expected you guys to have, I could understand that. But then again, I don't think that's necessarily Ten Hag's issue. I think that is with Mirko and Richard Arnold.
Yeah, I think Ten Hag's been quite political about it. Like he's just said in the presses what you'd expect a manager to say. He's a great player. We'd love to have him here, but he's not for sale. That's the club stance. Ten Hag took that line, but I mean everyone knows that's just to appease the media to get an answer out there. So I don't think he's been let down. I just think it's more that he's just saying what he has to at the time being.
Yeah, and then just a little bit more on this. Manchester United have not received any inquiries for Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, all the talk going on at this moment in time, because nothing is official, will have been with Jorge Mendes and clubs that he's trying to shop him around to, the Chelsea's, Bayern Munich's, PSG at one point. Obviously, they were never going to be in for him.
No.
Atletico Madrid, so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, there's just not going to be any real substantial inquiries until later in the summer. I could easily see 2 weeks into the Premier League season if Chelsea aren't doing so well because they don't look great at the moment. If that carries on, people getting cold feet, whether it's Boli or Tuchel. I think there might come a time when Tuchel just admits to himself, I just need someone.
Yeah, and I mean it's a fairly safe bet. Like even though the expectation around United were we're going to go to that next level with Ronaldo coming in, but I mean it showed that even when, apart from I think that 8 matches or something, he didn't score a game, but he still had the 24 across all competitions. So he's still going to get your goals of some kind. And yeah, like there's it's how to move for Kane to pet. I think people are saying he could be going to Chelsea as well or to Bayern. There's loose links there. So even if there's a domino that falls later in the window, there's going to be room for a movement, no doubt. So yeah, it's always good to keep an eye on it.
That's the interesting one as well. Yeah, Bayern clearly Cristiano doesn't fit their model.
Yeah,
I think that I've heard some Bayern fans being fairly frustrated, namely Jamie, who well, like I mean, I kind of understand it when people are saying, well, why would Kane want to move to Bayern? I think that there's a lot of reasons why he would like to stay in the Premier League. I think that's the first thing. I don't necessarily see why you would move from Tottenham to Chelsea right now. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think Chelsea are still in that sort of period. And let me know what you think about this, where they still think they're up here. And I know that they just won the Champions League and all that. But I don't think they're that appealing right now. It's never been like this historical pull or anything.
No. And I think Kane to Chelsea is more of a sidestep. I mean, I'd put, based on the last, I guess, 6 months, 12 months, I'll put them on level pegging. I mean, Chelsea still have a squad that can do damage, but I think just with everything that's going on in the last 6 months for them, there's the players are going to be leaving. You've seen Aspi and Alonso and all of these guys. What's the other guy? Went to Barcelona. Rudiger.
Or who? Sorry,
Rudiger.
Rudiger. I'm sorry, from Chelsea. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, leaving Chelsea. So it almost feels like a mass exodus. But I mean, the Bowley approach. Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys look. We'll give you your 30% reduced wages, 1 year contract, or even a loan move's been touted out as well for Ronaldo to get a move. And if he just wants to maintain his personal legacy, I think that's what this is about. As long as Messi's in the Champions League, I think Ronaldo is going to want to maintain that level as well. Those personal accolades mean a lot to him. So yeah, hence the drama, I think.
Yeah, and so this is kind of just moving on to that. Obviously, Cristiano has informed Manchester United that he wishes to be relinquished of his contract. I'm not sure if that's true, but this is about the time when it would start coming out, being leaked out, that the conversations they had yesterday, what was actually said in those meetings and what precedents were set. Cristiano basically saying, well, can we at least terminate my contract? You guys don't need to pay me, but this is how badly I want to move. I wouldn't be surprised if this were the case. And I mean, if this is the case, do it. Get rid of him. I understand United, and some United fans will say, well, we can get a fee. We're not really going to get much of a fee, and chances are we're going to end up paying some of his wages anyways. Better just cut your losses, in my opinion. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, it's one of those, I guess, you need to fall on your sword sort of moments, like Chelsea and Lukaku. If you're going to get another point of reference, it's just one of those, like, it was okay at the time. It was all nostalgia, all pretty, and rainbows and lollipops and smiling puppies, but it was never a long-term solution. And yeah, like the financial outlay. I mean, he brought more money into the club than will probably cost to relinquish the contract. So maybe it's a level ground. But yeah, either way, I think he needs to move regardless.
Yeah, it's time. And just before we go ahead and move on, which club is the best fit for CR7? Do you want to take that one real quick? Just in your opinion, like if you could see something or.
Well, for his, if I was speaking Ronaldo shoes, I'd say Bayern, go and get another league and another title in another league. I mean, how many players have won 4 titles in 4 separate leagues? I think Thiago at Liverpool is one of them. Only a handful of players in history that'd be appealing for his legacy. So that's probably, if there's a late move and that opens up, I could see him jumping on that. No drama at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take a little bit of a different approach. I think it has a lot to do with both the fit, which I agree Bayern would be a good fit in terms of what he wants, in terms of what the club wants and what he'd be willing to accept. Really, the way I feel about this is he just wants to be in the Champions League because he wants to maintain his legacy. I think Chelsea, because Chelsea are so desperate that if he goes to Bayern, I feel like for both Bayern and himself, no, for Bayern and the club that is Bayern, and for Nagelsmann and for that squad, it doesn't necessarily work out because he does command so much of that time, patience, and presence. I think Chelsea might be the one. I don't think there's really. The funny thing is, I agree with you in this kind of like. I don't think there is a good fit for him. That's kind of the problem.
Nah. Yeah.
So it becomes really problematic when you start looking at it that way. But yeah, thanks for the comment, Twisted, as always. We just go ahead and move on. So the Kounde news has basically come out, and let's see if I can just bring it up here. Kounde is going to Barcelona. We've pretty much killed this. I mean, it's way overdone. But what do you think about the Kounde move? I mean, obviously, it probably makes sense. It makes sense that Kounde would go there and that Barcelona would want him. But do you have any initial impressions on this move at all? Or?
No, I think it's just one of those typical situations. Barcelona doing Barcelona things. It's another one of those situations. He was in that tier below in Sevilla, that Sevilla Valencia kind of bracket in La Liga, and it's just one of those. I just feel like it's one of those moves that was inevitable to happen. The top two teams always suck up the talent in that league and elsewhere in around the globe, but I don't think there was really any concrete that he was actually going to come to the Premier League. I know Chelsea were close and thereabouts, but players, they agreed terms for 6 clubs before settling on what they really want to do. So he got his move, and I think, he's a good player. He strengthens Barcelona, no doubt. So be interesting to see how he goes about it this season. See if he can actually make that adaptation. So that's really what I'm more interested in seeing. This sort of what's going to happen anyway in my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like the Kounde topic has kind of been done to death, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to go to Barcelona at this point. I don't know how they're going to structure that payment plan, but that's not really a concern. It's more concerning for Chelsea. And what's even more concerning on top of that is that there's been murmurings of Kimpembe. He's going to go ahead and re-sign for PSG. So that's another one that they're going to miss out on, which then, I mean, we're looking at 4 missed targets in defense. Not necessarily that Ake was a missed target. I think that's an exception because they just didn't want to pay the amount that City wanted. But you're looking at Ake, Kounde, and Kimpembe now.
Yeah, I was having a chat with our moderator, Twisted, in WhatsApp last night, and our co-panelist Anthony, we were giving him a little bit of shade. We're basically saying that Chelsea have gone through so many centre back targets that that's just basically 2 back threes and a sub worth of talent they missed out on. Just a little bit of banter there, but yeah, I mean, Chelsea, Kimpembe, I don't think that surprises me either. He's basically the succession plan. He's going to be that long-term centre back. I felt that was always the case. I didn't really think he'd leave unless there was like a Madrid, like a Munich, or just sort of a more solid top 6 candidate or top 4 candidate, I should say. But again, I just think he's playing it safe. He's getting paid well, so I figured that'd happen.
Yeah, I question who they're going to bring in at this point. There were rumors about Dumfries, but Dumfries is not a center back. So, I mean, what do? They take Reece James and shift him back into the right center back of a back 3. That seems like a really dumb idea to me, since one of his best qualities, James's best qualities, is his attacking output.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like they're scraping the barrel at the moment. I know there's the whole narrative that it seems like Chelsea's got this scattergun approach. I just feel like that they're going through the list of targets, that whether it was Tuchel wanted them or there was sort of some compromises on who they wanted in there. It's just they're being proactive and missing out, and it's just it started. I know Chelsea fans starting to lose a bit of patience, and they're sort of because you can't have Koulibaly and Thiago Silva, over the 50 odd games in the brush over the 50 games in a season. It's just they're too old and potentially injury prone to play that consistent level of football with a congested season, mind you. So they need to do it. Who they settle on, I have no idea. They may have to start looking mid-table standout players. Maybe I don't know what their list looks like, but it's looking pretty thin at the moment.
Well, it's also like just going through some of the larger Chelsea Twitter feeds and channels online. It does look like they're starting to kind of just. It's literally actually it's just that's so funny. It's trending right here on my Twitter on this computer, and it says literally "come to Chelsea." Like it's trending "come to Chelsea." They're like literally begging at this point, just asking people to join. But no, they're starting to just look at other people's targets and get really aggressive about it. It's kind of weird. I don't know. Is it dominance of EPL by Man City putting players off from joining clubs like Chelsea? I don't necessarily think it's putting off players from joining clubs like Chelsea. I think it's a recognition that during a rebuilding phase, you have almost no opportunity to excel in the Premier League unless you're at a club that has a sustained period and project like Liverpool or City.
That was going to be my exact point. It's like people are going to come here to. I mean, unless, of course, someone's going to go to a Brentford or something. It's a step up to a larger club in the next season. But if you're not going to City, you'll want to go to Liverpool because that's really the only chance at silverware. I mean, and Chelsea, unless you're happy with domestic cups and a Champions League run, the rest of them are just thereabouts. And no one's made strong enough reinforcements to actually significantly close the gap, in my opinion. So. Yeah, I don't think it's so much about the dominance. I just think it's what's the other alternatives, really.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and pull up. I don't know how far back I'll need to go here. I honestly think it's just going to be a massive issue for clubs like Chelsea and United going forward. You have to establish something. So people are laughing at United this summer, basically saying that, well, look, you have this terrible reputation, which is true. You don't have an established project, which is true. It's going to take a year for these clubs to become more appealing or get back to where they were as far as being appealing goes.
And even in the United situation, like we've seen it. There was so much promise last year, and then the drop off was ridiculous. So I'm sure that there's a bunch of players that would love to come to United or love to come to Chelsea, but seeing all of these changes, it's like, well, okay, what's the result going to be? Give it 12 months because players, they don't want to. It's a World Cup year as well. They don't want to change clubs and not get played. So I'm sure a lot of them would be happier to just sit on their current clubs where they know their role, they know they're going to get time, and that increases their chances of a World Cup call up. So there's lots of factors that come into it as well.
No, 100%. Just moving on to another club that obviously is having some trouble in the transfer window. We finally announced 2 players, so Eriksen and Martinez, in the past 24 hours, basically 48 hours now at this point. And we had a little behind closed doors friendly against Wrexham. It's nice to see Martinez and Eriksen start, and Eriksen obviously get on the score sheet with Ahmed, with Diallo, Garnacho, and Tellez. But
I just felt it was a routine hit out against Ryan Reynolds FC. It was just one of those. It's just one of those. I felt that was just obviously a new signings, youth players that didn't feature as much to get a full 90 or as close to as possible. That's just a standard course of action. I think Wrexham have started their season already because they're like League 2 or something, so they have a longer season. But yeah, I don't really read too much into that. Just a routine score, a routine victory. It's never going to have any bearing on anything.
I saw we conceded, and I just knew that Twitter would go into a meltdown. And apparently, there were at least a couple people who went into a meltdown. The fact that we conceded to Wrexham, but I don't know.
I actually saw one person saying Ten Hag out on a hashtag. So I'm probably just taking the pure mick, but just shows how stupid some of these people are.
Yeah, it's pure nonsense. Also, I do believe that Arsenal Actually, I'll switch over to something else. Arsenal had a preseason game against Brentford, I believe.
And I'm pretty sure they lost too.
They lost 2-1. I mean, like it matters. It really doesn't matter at all, does it?
No.
I think they played their kids and everything, but yeah.
Yeah. Again, we're what? Just under a week. Oh, sorry, just over a week from the season starting. So this is just about minutes for the fringe players. I reckon you can't lend anything into it. Brentford versus Arsenal's kids. It was always going to be low scoring, tepid affair, and I don't really pay too much attention to it. If it was their first team, I would have come with a lot more energy. I'd love to bury into them. I've got a transfer window long agenda bubbling away against Arsenal. I'm just waiting for the first rung to drop and watch me come out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, Arsenal have looked really good this preseason. I gotta say, they've looked cohesive. They've done a lot well. I think their pressing has been on point. Yeah. Everyone looks like they're on Mikel's side, which is half the battle when you have a manager who people don't necessarily expect to be like the greatest, but he's clearly doing something, and I do expect him to. He's been improving a lot, and I used to say I don't know if you give him the players if he'll be able to achieve anything, especially in the Premier League, which is the most competitive league in the world by quite a distance. But he's starting to convince me that he can at least do something. Whether he's good enough to be at the top, only time will tell. And I still don't think that, but he's proved me wrong. I thought he was basically a non-starter. So,
yeah, well, that's the thing. I think this season, especially now, they've got Jesus and they got Zinchenko. Now these guys, I feel like they were the perfect signings for Arsenal. They've given experience. They've given they're both multiple Premier League winners, so that they've got the experience, but they're still young enough. Jesus, it was probably the perfect move for him. I think he's at the right age to lead a line now. And yeah, they're both quality players. The utility factor of Zinchenko is going to be huge because if Partey gets injured, he can play there. If Tavares gets injured, he can play there. But if they're both injured, that leaves them in an issue. They're still a little bit shallow, but I feel it's going to be a really good indicator. Personal opinion, I think this should be the year that they get back into the top four. At least that should be the expectation, and possibly a domestic trophy. That team's good enough to do this now, and if you can't get that over the line, I think it should go. To be completely fair,
I'd be very surprised if United and Arsenal are not the favorites for the Europa League as well. I'd be very surprised with the bookies just coming straight out the season right out the gates. I expect both of those teams to be at least looking to excel. Obviously, United has a lot more work to do. Ten Hag has a lot to do. We still need to get a couple players in, but I expect those two teams to be up there as within the level of expectation at the very least. I'm just going to go over this really quickly since Dan's not here. Liverpool versus Salzburg. Our boy Šeško, potential target for Manchester United. He's as a replacement for Cristiano Ronaldo. He looks good, man. Very physical, quick. Obviously physical, but also strong. Has a good finish on him. Kind of questionable, like his technicality, his touch, but his movement looks good. He actually reminds me a lot of Darwin Nunez. Funnily enough, since they were playing.
Yeah, right. I remember seeing, I don't know who it was. Again, I don't pay attention to who says these things, but someone was talking about him being the next Haaland because literally only because of the RB links. That was it. Like it was the weakest argument I've ever seen. But I mean, look, I don't know anything about the kid. I've never seen him play, and you watched that friendly, I assume. Yeah. So you'd be a better one to pick apart. But I mean, if it's a talent ID and they want to bring him in, whether it's a backup to Tony or a rotation or whatever, then so be it. But yeah, I mean, can't read into the friendly. Liverpool, I assumed it was a weak team, so there you have it.
Yeah, it was a very mixed team.
So
you had Carvalho, Nunez, and Elliott. Elliott looked amazing, as he usually does. Carvalho looked good. Curtis Jones needs to be dropped. He's not He's a youth prospect, but he's not up to the levels. Mbaya, I don't think that he played there. I think Milner probably played in midfield, to be fair. On this,
right.
it looked like they played a 4-2-3-1, so I think this is a little wrong. Mbaya is a right back. He looked really good. He's still raw, but he does look good.
Yeah.
Gomez and Kounde went to sleep for Šeško's goal. Dan really likes this kid. I don't know anything about him. I wasn't really paying that much attention, but I'll take Dan's word for it. But Liverpool fans always overhype their players, as United fans do as well. As United fans do.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really paying attention. It was Mbaya that was sticking out to me for all the young ones. And by young, I mean like people who are just playing their first game.
Yeah, I remember him playing against United in that game. I pinpointed him as one of the standouts. Like, even though he made that mistake, he still got up, dusted himself off, and put in the performance. So I'll rate the kid already. Yeah.
Yep. And then they made wholesale changes, obviously, and Fabinho, Van Dijk. Their first team basically came in, with the exception of, I would say, I think Firmino came in. I expect this position to either be Jota's or Nunez's. By the beginning of the season. So,
well, yeah, he's looking to go to Juventus, isn't he?
Firmino, yeah. Lowball. They kind of sent. I don't know how much they actually bid for him, but I don't think it was very much. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. But we can just go over it real quick because Dan's not here. The shot. You could just see the domination. The first half, Salzburg looked really capable on the break. And hey, there he is. What up, Dan?
Hello, boys. You all right? Sorry, yeah, all sorts going on. Thanks for jumping in for me there, Josh. Really appreciate it.
No, not a problem. I was sort of on the way up, back pain being what it is. I was up at ungodly hour, so why not while I'm here?
That's it. Yeah, where are we up to, boys? I was just watching with the Liverpool game. Not the greatest result, but it is what it is.
You have the perfect time. How good did Liverpool look this in preseason? That's from Twisted.
They're growing, aren't they? I think they're growing. It's hard when they keep playing different teams. It's not like a full 11 or 245s. It's just about getting that fitness up and just building up to where I think you kind of want them to be. So I was happy. I think it was more about individual performances. Mabaya's definitely got a career ahead of him if he carries on. Elliott looks really, really good. I echo about Curtis Jones. I feel that he would probably benefit from a loan at a Premier League club. Because he's good enough for the Premier League. It's whether or not he can step it up that gear, because he won't get enough game time at Liverpool. I'm afraid he just won't get enough football.
Yeah, no, he won't. And the way I'm looking at it now, I said this to Dan. Twisted was in there, and Jamie was in there as well on Discord when we were watching the game. In my opinion, I was frustrated seeing, and I know it's just preseason and all that, frustrated by seeing players like Harvey Elliott and Carvalho moved out to the wings, and Curtis Jones being able to play in sort of that 10 role during that first half. I would have liked to see the actual players who I think are at the level for Liverpool, who can take that next step up, playing in their ideal position. I know that they can play on the wings, especially Carvajal, but I want to see Elliott in that 10 because I think he has it. I think he has it all in spades. So I don't know. You think?
Yeah. No. Listen, I totally agree. But the thing for me is that you put Carvalho out on that left, they're just going to kind of float a lot, to be honest. I think they're going to be floating players. Elliott's not going to spur Salah off on that right-hand side. Diaz has got the left-hand side kind of wrapped up, but it's going to be more of a case of formations. So we could see during that diamond where they play sort of an inside left and right, potentially. Not at the same time, but independently of each other more than likely. I was happy, as I say. It was one of those games where, I wasn't expecting much of a result. It was more of a case of just everyone gets some fitness, no one gets injured, and we move forward. Big difference when it showed Kounde still showed his age. As much as we know he's got a big career, he really was big time errors when it came to the goal that we gifted to Salzburg. just not tracking runners, just basic, like 101 stuff, which you need that proper centre back, the experienced one, just to command the young ones. But when you had two 24-year-olds and a 23-year-old sat together, we just looked like we were going to get ripped apart.
Yeah, no, definitely. You definitely still need that experience. Fortunately, you guys have Van Dijk on the left and Matip on the right. So you guys already have two leaders in that position. Gomez has never come across to me, at least, as a leader. I mean, he's still young, obviously. But Konate is potentially that future leader, kind of filling that either Van Dijk role or something similar on the opposite side. So I think, overall, I think Liverpool's preseason, just to answer Twisted's question, I just dropped it off. They look good in preseason. Results don't really matter. They look like they're getting sharp. They really haven't played their first team in any game I've seen yet, because I think Nunez goes in to the Jota role up front, and then Diaz goes into the Mane role. So,
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's going to be Saturday. I still think they're going to treat Saturday like a preseason game. I just have a feeling, I just don't feel like Klopp's is going to stick his best 11 out for 90 minutes in a week's time. I don't think they'll be quite ready for that. I think it's going to be a case of Klopp will just, rotate players. Liverpool have then got another opportunity the next day on Sunday of having another 90 minutes pre-season football match before the Fulham game. So who knows how that's going to kind of happen. It's almost funny because you would think to yourself, other than for the money, why would you have the Strasbourg game, just literally a day after, not even just over 24 hours later? I can only think money otherwise.
I think it's all commerciality. I think that's where a lot of it's come in the behind closed doors games that have been for a couple of clubs. That's definitely about the minutes. That's definitely about giving the fringe players more time. And I feel that's what Klopp has adopted so far with the games. And I don't think he's really looked to push too hard on the senior squad as yet. And as you rightly say, I feel like the next couple of games coming up, you'll see them get more minutes and there'll be less wholesale changes, and they'll be ready for that Fulham game, no problems.
Yeah, because that's all that matters really right now is that Fulham game. 3 points and treat every match as a cup final until the World Cup, really.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and I mean, we had United fans kind of complaining about why are we playing we're playing Atletico. We're playing them in Norway, and then we're playing the next day against Vallecano at Old Trafford or something in England. And people were saying, United is the only club that does this. It's kind of a weird one, but every club is doing it at this point. I'm sure Pep will take Saturday seriously. This is a question that I want to bring up to Dan because we disagree on several things involving this weekend. And it is, I think, it's not necessarily you start as you mean to go on, but I think that you guys should take this seriously. Not like get injuries and play your whole first team or whatever, but have the mentality there to go ahead and win this because it does set a precedent for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's one of those things. Like, there's two arguments, isn't it? There's those people who think it's a trophy, and those who don't, and those who are right. It's not a trophy at the end of the day. It's not. It's a friendly. It's played under friendly rules. So that's one side of things. But the side of it for me is, if Liverpool go on and win it, do I think it'll make a difference to our season? No, not really. I don't think we'll be any better for it. Unlike the League Cup, which is clearly a big bolster when it comes forward. Liverpool will play to win the match, most certainly. But I don't think that Liverpool are going to go out there and bust a gut to win the match. I don't think you're going to see people being asked to do things that they might be asked to do in other games, shall we say.
Mind you, though, if it's not considered an actual trophy, why do people put it in the overall trophy hall? Historically speaking, they'll throw in. It depends which clubs do. Yeah, true. I mean, but the separation between United and Liverpool, for example, in history, and then you're throwing in Arsenal and whoever else, that they'll always bring up the community/charity shield as a tally count of who's got the more trophies as bragging rights.
Listen, I'll say Liverpool literally put what trophies they think are worth a jot on the wall. And the community shield isn't on the wall, so I think Liverpool. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say is that's the fans can do what they like. They can say it's a trophy. They can say it's not a trophy, blah, blah, blah. But if the club doesn't put it on that wall, the Champions wall, City's got one as well. Real Madrid has one, loads of clubs have got these systems. If that Charity Shield isn't on there, it's not a proper trophy. It's a nice opening game. Open the ceremony of opening football. FA Cup winners versus the league winners, and then we're back in the Premier League, which is what we all care about.
Yeah, it's a nice to have, I guess, as opposed to an essential item in your trophy room. Although if you're Tottenham, you'd kill to have it, I think. Just to be honest.
That'll be a cup double. They'd end up doing a trophy round the city.
Oh, absolutely.
What was it? We won 3 trophies our first season under Jose Mourinho, didn't we?
You did the treble. Another treble.
Yeah. 2.5 is what he said. 2.5 is what he
said. Lord. I wish. I wish.
Goodness gracious. What do you think about this, Dan? Because this just came out, and Josh and I were kind of talking about this. So it looks like, and obviously take this with a grain of salt, it comes from the Mail, and it will all come out in the next 24 hours anyways, if it's true. Cristiano Ronaldo has informed Manchester United that he wishes to be relinquished of his contract. Now, keep in mind, he has 2 years on it. He has 1 year plus the extension. My personal preference is that we just do it and get rid of him, because we're going to end up paying his wages anyways if he goes out somewhere. But he's also, the other rumor is, if this doesn't work, he's going to go out on loan. So what's the difference? Because we're basically loaning out a player who's kind of on the last year of his contract without that extension for no real reason other than to just keep him around. And we'll probably, if he goes out on loan, we're going to end up paying, I don't know, 100,000, if not over that in wages. So do you have an opinion on this? Or
you see, there's two sides of me. There's a side of me that sits there and wants to be like, Ronaldo came back to United because he genuinely thought he could win a Premier League, didn't he? Let's be honest. He looked at United and finishing second, and he must have thought to himself, I'm here to win trophies. But instead, unfortunately, he's walked into a club which, maybe some people saw it, maybe others didn't, that there was a bit of a storm brewing. And just because he's caught in the storm, he's now looking to jump on the lifeboat and get lost. He's quite happily accepted his 500 grand a week, or whatever it was that he was on. And now here he is, not getting what he wants, because no club actually wants him to buy him, which they've shown. That no club's actually proven that are out there that they want to buy him. So I don't really understand why relinquishing him of his contract actually makes any difference. Because the price tag that United are asking for is not exactly world-beating money for a player of Ronaldo's standards.
It'll be what we got him for, like 15 million euros. Yeah. It won't be much. Like, now the salary might be high, but at the same time, the salary that he's on for next season is around 320K because we didn't make Champions League. He's not getting next season.
It's Raheem Sterling money at the end of the day. It's the same wage as Sterling's on. But you have the added bonus that wherever Ronaldo goes, your shirt sales jump up. You get a massive influx of Instagram followers and Twitter followers and all the rest of this nonsense because you get player FCs out there who are weird. And they'll follow clubs, from one place to another. So for me, I don't think, because Ronaldo doesn't even need the wages. Let's get it straight. The man doesn't need to be paid 300 grand a week. He could take 100 grand a week. So I actually don't understand what he wants. Like, he could go back to Sporting Lisbon and do that. That's not on the cards. Bayern Munich don't want him because they don't see the point. Who else is there? Who genuinely else is there for him to take?
I mean, literally. It's getting to the point where this is what Josh and I were saying, so I don't want to hark on about it too long. Manchester United have not received inquiries for Ronaldo. Those are no official inquiries, which means no team has officially come in. They've had discussions with Jorge Mendes, but no one's even contacted United at this point. No one's that interested, which moves me on to something a little bit more interesting, if I can pull it up quickly, which is essentially that we are moving on from It looks like this is I don't know the source. I assume that where are they from? It doesn't really matter. NBC, like that's pretty decent. But anyways, Manchester United have given up on the pursuit of Anthony due to Ajax's asking price. There's a slim chance of it. Some chance it could be revisited if other moves don't come off, but it's off the agenda for the moment. And then the agenda for the moment, and then you have Rob Blanchett, who's close to United, who I would say isn't like super reputable, but he's a United fan and all that, saying that United are preparing a bid for Šeško, who just played against Liverpool today. Now that could just be paper talk because he literally just played against our rivals. But
it came up about a week ago, the Šeško, that they were monitoring, but there's a lot of clubs monitoring him. I believe that was Romano who released that one. It would make sense, as I say, he's a good signing, but he's young and raw, isn't he? And I think right now, Ten Hag's probably out there looking for the right people he can trust today. And I can see that's why he was after Anthony, because he knows him. Do I think the price tag was a lot? Yeah. Did it get even more? 100%. But who am I to question Ten Hag at the end of the day? Because he needs to be given a chance with the players that he trusts. So all I would say is definitely don't for United is don't go for play. If you can't buy them, are unattainable. Just leave them and then wait. For the next one. Don't just go, can't get Anthony, so we'll buy this guy. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I do think that there's a genuine interest in Šeško. What I will say is that this quote coming from MFC is definitely coming from Promised Land podcast, where it can be taken out of context. It also says they're exploring a bit. But the reason why I read into this is because I just want to bring this up. If we do walk away from Anthony, there's a good chance that we could end up going for a striker because Šeško is going to be like 50 million pounds bare minimum. So,
I mean that's it. I don't know what RB would want because the one of them clubs. He's probably got a few years on his contract, and they'll kind of just set whatever bill they want. Really,
yeah, they want a lot for him. They want a lot for him. Yeah. I know that for a fact. So,
they want a lot of bread for him, and it's one of those, isn't it? Whether or not maybe this is the right time, but I mean, who knows? I mean, he looked decent enough against tonight, but I don't know enough about him to be able to say that 50 million now. I mean, that's only 15 million less than Darwin Núñez. It's you start getting close, don't you? Núñez is expensive. Then what's Šeško? At 50 million with maybe half a season, one season under his belt.
Yeah.
It could turn into be an absolute steal. It could be an incredible player, of course. And he already looks like he's got all the raw talent and ability. So you better moving away from the Anthony situation, especially if you're going to be getting held to ransom.
At this moment in time, I think you're right. I think that ideally we'll just move off, and I think go after a striker because Cristiano's going, and if he's not, you can say he's Cristiano Ronaldo all you want, but as a United fan, it won't sit okay with me if he's starting the season. No. He's got to be.
I feel like Ten Hag's definitely going to not be afraid to sit him down if he decides to stay on or if he's forced to stay on because no one will take him unless he buys out his own contract. I feel there's enough about Ten Hag to say, look, I know what you've done, I know who you are, but you're not going to dictate this team. It's my job now, basically. So, yeah, I feel he's got to be on his way out. And if this Šeško comes in, then great. I'd love to see what he can do. But as long as it's what Ten Hag wants, essentially, because that's been the whole mantra of the window so far.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's basically where we're at as United fans. I mean, the De Jong thing it's just gonna sit there until it doesn't happen or it does happen. I suspect it's 50-50 at this point. I mean,
Jesse's gone up and down that scale more times than a Radio 1 DJ. He's been 99.9. He's been 10%, 50.
Can't lie about me. I never said 10%. I said I'm dropping it. I'm dropping.
Oh no, I meant right at the start when you really, that the little tinkle in the ear. That was when you said you were like, "Listen, I'm not going to get carried away because I know how much you like him." But I remember you were like, "I don't see much chance at the moment," and and then you changed.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the beginning, it's too good to be true. If United do,
that's what I meant.
People will say 75 million upfront, 10 million euros as add-ons. I don't think people realize how good Frankie De Jong is. and I don't think that we can actually get a player in this market who is as good. I don't think we'll get one in the next 5 years who's as good for that price. We'll just have to wait and see. But besides that, I mean, United's transfer window is basically over. I think it's Dumfries. I think it's someone like Šeško or Antony, and that's it. Those are the last three people. If we don't get one of those three, don't expect us to fill in holes with like a Neves or someone. That's not what's going to happen. So
no, Neves would be just the wrong thing to do. I know so many fans keep bleating on about it. Go and get Neves. Well, if you really wanted Neves, you'd have already got Neves because he would be a much easier target to have gone for. He isn't good enough for Man United. He's just like, well, anyone will do. He's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but he's nowhere near the standard. He's not going to be the person who's going to help United go on to win trophies again, in my opinion.
No, he's not. He's not at all. And I think that would be an admission of failure, really. What do you think about that, Josh? Because you clearly have as many ideas about that as I do. But.
Look, I rate Neves. I personally would have him in the team, but this comes back to the that mantra again. Is that if he was a legitimate target, he would have been linked a lot earlier. There would have been a lot more credible people saying, yeah, you know, we've got terms agreed, etc. But I mean, if there's any positive to take from how United's operating, it's the fact that we're not going in and panicking because we miss out on our first target, we suddenly go for whoever. So it's not like because we missed out on bloody, I don't know, whoever, then we go and get Fred, for example. It's literally it's very methodical, and that's reassuring because obviously these people aren't on the list, and I don't think they'll end up in the club, even if it's, you know, deadline day and we still need someone. I think Ten Hag would rather wait, which is much better to strengthen in the places that you know you can and make do with what you've got. So that's a good mentality. That's a good way to go moving forward. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I think it's about setting a precedent, about saying, look, we're not just going to go and get the next player on a list that's outdated. Because I do think there was a list there that was presented to Ten Hag, and Ten Hag basically said, no, I don't want this. I want Frankie.
Yeah.
If I can't get Timber, I want Martinez. If I need a left back, I want Malacia. That one came out like right away from Ten Hag once he came in. Dumfries is just continually being spoken about. He's been linked loosely, but I wouldn't be surprised if that heats up in the next week or two. Like the nice thing about United at the moment, and some fans won't get this, some rival fans won't get this because they do have actual structures to their clubs. The nice thing is we're actually going after targets that are linear, that actually makes sense with what Ten Hag wants. Usually it's, we can't get Grealish, he's worth 70 million pounds, or Aston Villa are holding out for 70, 80 million pounds. So we'll go get Donny van de Beek as fan service. Now, Donny could work out, but it just doesn't make sense. It's always the opposite of what the manager wants. It just doesn't fucking work, dude. Like,
no, I agree. As I say, I think we're doing a lot, a lot better. I mean, don't get me wrong, trying to do business at the moment with Barcelona is like trying to, it's like trying to shake hands with a cat. It's just not very easy. And that's where they are. Like they do what they want. They have this power and this mystic pull when it comes to players. I mean, at least you've not done a Chelsea and gone after players who basically didn't want you in any way, shape, or form. I mean, that could happen when it comes to Frankie de Jong, according to some reports, that he's not overly infused, and there's some reports out the Athletic that he doesn't really have that special of a relationship with Ten Hag. He's not no problem with him, but it's not as if though like he's his best mate or his dad. So we'll have to wait and see, won't we? I mean, ultimately the ball is most certainly in Frankie de Jong's court, because it's actually in Barca's court, because they've got to pay him off, and if you don't pay him off, well, I think he'll quite happily play centre back or whatever he has to do to get his money, and that's the right thing to do.
Get his bread. Yeah, no, it is the right thing to do. I need a midfield player that complements McFred. Good luck. We don't need a midfielder that complements him. We need to replace both of them.
Nice one.
And I like Fred, but he should not be starting for Manchester United. McTominay belongs nowhere near Premier League football. Nowhere near Premier League football.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. United have got this funny thing. I've said this. United have got this loyalty to players. Like once they've worn the shirt, they'll never there'll always be a place for them.
Yeah.
If whatever it is, it's like a McTominay. Like anyone out there who thinks McTominay's anywhere near Manchester United's level is out of their mind. Yeah. He's nowhere near good enough. But because he's a United player, it's like that. Well, he's a United player. He works hard. He puts a tackle in. Just look for any reason to do anything like that, and to get them to where they are. So for me, they need to get shot of it, get rid of the sentiment, and just be ruthless. And go, you ain't good enough. See you later.
Yeah, it is that old Scottish sentiment, almost harking back to just Sir Alex, and then bringing David Moyes, and then you have this hardworking, good, handsome young man from Scotland who's in United's academy, and he works hard and he's physical, and he almost looks like 50, 60 years ago he'd be lifting boxes or building ships in Scotland's whatever yards. That's what he looks like. And I feel like sometimes we get carried away with that, especially with it being in Manny and the kind of the traditions of the club. I think that people need to get over that and move on, because the longer we stick with that sort of tradition, even though it's worked for us in the past, the further behind we're going to get. This is one for you, Josh, if you don't mind. What is United's level?
Right now, Europa League, as it deservingly should be, but nowhere near where it should. Where it deserves to be. It's nowhere near where it should be. The squad we have, I've predicted, will finish Europa League spots again. I just think it's too much to ask to close that gap with everyone else around us improving. But yeah, I think next season, the one after this, I should say, we should be back in the Champions League spots, provided things go as swimmingly as we wish. But yeah, still far off the level we should be.
All right, I have a little bit of a fun one. First, I'll answer this. What is United's level? It's essentially what Josh said. Right now, it's Europa League level, but it's certainly, we need to be buying players in that bracket that are somewhere between where we are right now and where we want to be. So we should be, and we should have enough pull to go ahead and get those players. Players like even like a Christian Eriksen kind of is a good example. Someone who plays Champions League year in, year out. Obviously, he had the cardiac arrest issue at the Euros. But players who are of that quality that we can reasonably get, who can play in the Europa League, who will play in it, but once we go up to Champions League football, are willing to be there. And then even I would argue Christian Eriksen is good enough to play in a league-winning side. I really would. So those are kind of, we need to be shopping around, not in bargains in the monetary sense, but in the talent sense. You know what I mean? So I think that in general is what it is. And I just want to go ahead and close off this show. He's way too good. He could walk into Liverpool, into City's midfields in 2 seconds. He really could. He's that good of a player. Liverpool, he wouldn't really fit, but definitely City. Chelsea, one of the reasons why I think they're a threat is because he is twice the player Jorginho is. He walks into that and makes them 3 times better. They immediately are able to transition defense to attack. Which would be scary. But yeah, like within systems that fit him, no, he's way too good for United. Honestly, but no, just to go ahead and finish up the show. Question for you guys: where do I? It's kind of a dumb question at this point. Where do we see United finishing with the way that we see Arsenal playing, Tottenham playing? And how do we see Chelsea finishing? Because we kind of went on a little bit of a tangent earlier, Dan. You weren't here for it. What do we kind of see that top 6 looking like? Exempt City and Liverpool. Mine are City then Liverpool, but it doesn't. Well,
listen. I still don't buy into this Antonio Conte kind of religion that a lot of people get into. They get into this idea that he's literally, the world's greatest managers, from people singing on about. For me, the Tottenham team is still Tottenham until it's not. There's still a team that's capable, for me, of dropping games where they should win. I still see them having that. They've not really blown me away in pre-season at all. I've watched them against Sevilla, draw, nothing. They played the K-pop all-star team or whatever it was, which was basically, well, you couldn't even bet on it. The thing was actually it was a sham. It was a show. Like that's the thing. It was almost embarrassing to the people of Korea that they even allowed it to happen, because you could tell how, it wasn't a true match. Then I watched them play against Rangers, and this is Rangers. They're a decent enough team, but ultimately they could have ended up not winning that match. So yeah, I don't. I see, for me, it's Arsenal third, genuinely, because of the way that they're playing and they're performing. And that's based on them being lucky with injuries and staying fit and, all that kind of good stuff, because their 11 is very, very, very good. But I don't think there's a lot in substance on the bench. There's not much to come on when they take off the players that they have in front of them. So I think third for them. I think fourth for Spurs, only on the basis of they have a very strong forward line, but I think they're going to be fourth. And then I think you guys fifth, but I'm talking single figure points, like maybe 3 or 4 at the very most between you. And that could be either way. It could be you ahead of them and the other way around. And then Chelsea, who I've predicted are probably on a bit of a downward spiral for a while. And it's just been covered up by the odd trophy win here and there, with a Champions League, which is what Liverpool did. Liverpool did this years ago. We won the Champions League in 2005. We were nowhere near competitive enough. Winning the Champions League doesn't mean you're anywhere near winning a league. There's no thing for it. That defence is horrendous. So for me, that's my top 6.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh. You got yours?
Yeah, I mean, I still think it'll be City first, Liverpool second. That's just but I still think. I
agree.
Yeah, just depending on how the rest of the window goes, I think Chelsea can probably just hold on to fourth. For me, there's still enough players there that can get results for them when they need it. The big issue for them is their defense. And unless they manage to get actually land one of their targets and of quality, I can see probably Tottenham and Chelsea swapping places, pending a massive meltdown. But I think Tottenham will probably end up third, Chelsea or Arsenal fourth, or fifth. To take a pick, it's for me it's a very Arsenal have had their squad together for long enough now, and they've added the necessary quality. Because as we know, Jesus is a massive upgrade on Aubameyang, on Lacazette, and lack of threat, and we know that bloody Nketiah is not going to be good enough. He's never shown it, so I feel like the improvements they've made are essential improvements, which I think close the gap to Chelsea. So I would go Arsenal fourth, Chelsea fifth, and United sixth, but only in a very, very small margin. I think United, even though we have had quality and we are looking good, it's the play style. It's the congested season. I do feel there will be a few dips throughout the season, but we'll end up in a better points and win ratio. But I still feel there will be too many losses. Probably, I actually predicted on my solo channel that we'd end up with pretty much the same amount of points as we did last season, but I think there will be more wins and losses as opposed to the amount of draws we had. Or even pick up a few draws where the losses were. So I still think it'll be about the same until we get into the year after. I just can't see United, because there's that shadow of doubt. They're so easy to drop their tools and not play. And again, we're not super strong in depth like Arsenal. All it takes is 1 or 2 key injuries and we're back in the mud. So that's where I sit with that anyway.
Yeah, so City, Liverpool, easy. Spurs, Arsenal. If we get off to a rapid start, then United, Chelsea. Chelsea looks so weak right now, and this is all pending what potentially could happen in the rest of the transfer window.
Yeah.
For me, my biggest concern with United is the same as Josh's. We look very thin in certain positions, and we've seen consistently throughout this preseason that what happens is if we drop our first 11, we can't play the system Ten Hag wants. And that's very dangerous. But what I'm seeing right now, if it keeps developing, I think we'll be a very, very dangerous team to play against. And I don't think we need to play our first team to get through the group stages of the Europa League, which is what everyone will be hoping, is that United has to play their first team in every competition. I don't think that's going to be the truth. We start with a lot of 1 games a week sort of situation before the World Cup. I don't think that United will struggle that bad. If Chelsea gets in some signings, United can also get in some signings. My goal for this season for United is to win the Europa League and get 5th or 6th, just in case we don't win it. And then when it comes to Arsenal, they look really good right now. Now they better hope that certain things go their way, because they also look very weak. If you get an injury to Jesus, to Partey, and then one of your like Tomiyasu, you guys are in trouble. So and that could easily happen throughout the season. I think Spurs will come good. I think Conte has know-how, but I don't think they're going to be like outstanding. I just don't rate Chelsea right now from what I've seen, and United has too much to do. Arsenal look good in preseason. They look like they have a structure. Mikel Arteta is doing very well. And then anyone who's putting Spurs above Liverpool, I think, is smoking crack.
You're on absolute. You think Perisic and Richarlison is the difference between finishing 4th on pretty much the last 2 games of the season, or finishing a point behind Manchester City?
I didn't even mean this, but I mean it, but I didn't mean you twisted either. City, United, Spurs, Arsenal. Yeah, man. I mean, I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. But,
if that happens, I quit football and I support hockey from now on.
Hey, come over, man. I'll tell you some good hockey teams over here. It'll be good.
This is it. I will be I'll be a Toronto Maple Leafs fan.
No. Avalanches. Colorado Avalanche. Cool. Anyways, that's it for today's stream, everyone. If you guys are here on playback or hearing right now, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We're here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, usually Thursday, and definitely Friday, sometimes on the weekends. So make sure you guys go ahead and like and subscribe if you like the content. Stick your comments in the comment section after the stream. And yeah, we appreciate all you guys participating. Thank you, Twisted, again, for being here. And yeah, we'll go ahead and catch you guys later this week. All right.